You might think of witches as purely a product of folklore and fantasy, but what if I told you that there's a grain of truth to those tales? We're going to uncover the real history behind the Salem Witch Trials, revealing that witches were indeed real. Our story begins in the late 17th century in the small, tight-knit community of Salem Village, Massachusetts. It's a place where Puritan beliefs are deeply ingrained, and any deviation from the norm is met with suspicion. But in 1692, something extraordinary and horrifying occurred. It all started with a group of young girls, including Betty Parris and Abigail Williams, who began displaying bizarre behavior, from fits of convulsions to eerie, incomprehensible shrieks. Concerned and bewildered, the community searched for answers, and it didn't take long for fingers to be pointed at an unlikely culprit: witches. The fear and paranoia escalated quickly. Accusations flew like wildfire, leading to a series of trials that would forever stain the pages of history. What started as a mysterious ailment would soon become a witch hunt of unparalleled proportions. The alleged witches were primarily women, and they were often individuals on the fringes of society, outsiders or those who dared to challenge the status quo. The mere suggestion of witchcraft could lead to a swift accusation. The trials themselves were a far cry from what we might consider a fair legal process today. The accused had no right to legal counsel, and their fate was often decided by a group of judges and jurors who genuinely believed in the existence of witches. What's even more alarming is that the evidence against these supposed witches often consisted of little more than hearsay, rumors, or fantastical stories of witches' meetings in the woods. Innocent lives were being ruined, and the hysteria showed no signs of slowing down. As the trials continued, more and more people found themselves in the crosshairs of accusations. Among the most famous accused was Tituba, a slave from Barbados who was believed to have introduced the girls to witchcraft. Her confession under duress set off a chain reaction, leading to further hysteria. But it wasn't just Tituba. Women like Sarah Good, Sarah Osborne, and Bridget Bishop, who had their own unique circumstances and stories, were also accused. Bishop, in particular, had already faced allegations of witchcraft before the trials, and this history played a significant role in her conviction. It's crucial to remember that these women weren't actual witches, but rather victims of a society gripped by fear and superstition. The tragic irony is that those who cried witch were often the ones who held the most power in the community. As the hysteria raged on, the town of Salem became increasingly chaotic and divided. Families were torn apart as accusations spread like wildfire. Even respected members of the community, like Rebecca Nurse and John Proctor, found themselves accused of witchcraft. The trials reached a horrifying peak when a young man named Giles Corey was pressed to death with heavy stones for refusing to plead either guilty or not guilty. This gruesome act was meant to force a confession, but Corey's silence became a chilling symbol of resistance. The feverish pursuit of witches continued to escalate, and by this point the whole colony was in turmoil. But something had to give, and eventually, cracks began to appear in the facade of the witch trials. The tide began to turn when the wife of the governor of Massachusetts, William Phips, was accused of witchcraft. Phips was alarmed by these accusations and decided to put a halt to the trials, creating a special court to re-evaluate the cases. The court's findings were a stark departure from the previous judgments. By 1693, the witch trials had largely come to an end. The damage was done, though, with more than 200 people accused, 20 executed, and countless lives forever altered. But the question remained: why did this happen, and what caused the hysteria in the first place? The Salem Witch Trials have long fascinated historians, and numerous theories have been put forward to explain the mass hysteria. Some point to the harsh and restrictive Puritan society, where any deviation was met with suspicion as the root cause. Others argue that a mixture of religious fervor, land disputes, and social tensions may have contributed to the hysteria. A smallpox outbreak also added to the fear and paranoia of the time. Some even suggest that the consumption of contaminated grains, which can lead to hallucinations and erratic behavior, might have played a role. In the end, the exact cause remains elusive, but the lessons from this dark period in history are crystal clear. The Salem Witch Trials serve as a harrowing reminder of the dangers of mass hysteria and the consequences of unchecked power. They illustrate the devastating effects of fear and paranoia, and how easily innocent people can be targeted when society loses its way. The trials are a testament to the importance of due process, the rule of law, and the protection of individual rights. They show how dangerous it can be when superstition and prejudice overshadow reason and justice. In the end, the Salem Witch Trials are a chapter in history that we must remember and learn from. If you found this video informative and thought-provoking, Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more captivating historical content.